Wow.
What a game.
I guess, it wasn't much of a game until it was something near the end. Do we even talk about the ending, or do we just kind of skip it and then just talk about everything else? I don't know.
Well, first of all, I go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say they're lucky that the Lakers just let it ride with that. The only way that was going to go was and take caught because that got way too close.
Yeah, it did. Sherrod?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about this game is that the Celtics once again had an opportunity to beat a team that was shorthanded, and they didn't choke it away.
Yeah.
Remember, I mean, they beat, when they beat what was it, Denver? They didn't have Jamal Murray. They didn't blow that opportunity. You don't have LeBron. You don't have AD. You handle that business. Get the win, move on. But by no means should they be popping the collars about this one because
the Charlotte-Houston games, those were in that vein too.
Right.
Yeah, the shorthanded, you're supposed to drill them.
You're supposed to drill them, and they did that for the most part. The thing that I like more than anything else is that they're playing both ends of the floor now. They're picking their spots. They're sharing the ball. They're defending at multiple positions. They're defending as a group as opposed to individuals. They're doing a lot of good things, but damn, that back line, end of the bench, my goodness.
Not even the end of the bench, Sherrod. This just, I don't want to harp on the end of the game because it really doesn't matter, but it does too, because we talk about how thin this team is, and forget the back end. Most back ends of NBA benches aren't helping you, but this back end of the bench isn't even ready to play NBA basketball, as you can see here. And so the second line that they have isn't great, and that just shows the depth on this team.
Yeah, but you can't worry about the back end of the bench in a game.
No, but my point is,
but you're missing Rob Williams. That's not the point. It's not even the back end of the bench. It's guys who would be in Maine right now. When you're down Fournier and Williams, that means you're playing. You go that deep. These are guys who would never see the court, even in a blowout. So I mean, you're not getting Tremont Waters. Sadly, Neesmith is in that situation. Wagner, oh my goodness gracious, Wagner, I don't think should do anything ever again.
Every appearance he's been horrible.
Like any basketball related activity, I would stop it.
And he got to start
say his name again. I don't want to say his name.
Yeah,
I don't even want to say his name.
Is that the worst move Brad's made all year? Was starting him.
I want to bring Josue on, but he's doing that old man poke at the monitor thing, and I can't tell. I'm looking at him back there, and he doesn't look confident. Josue, blink twice if you're confident. Give it a thumbs up. You want to come in, buddy? We're gonna try him.
How are you gonna talk to me like I can't hear you, John? Come on, I can hear you, man. Just because I'm
doing the old man
doesn't mean I can't hear you.
I know you can hear me. That's why I'm saying it. By the way,
this is why I hated the fact that people were trying to lump Kornet with Mo Wagner. I'm like, well, wait a minute. He's got a little more potential than Mo Wagner.
I can't wait to do the Kornet segment.
It's not a whole lot.
But we were sold a different bill of goods. We were told that Wagner could play and Kornet was going to be cut as soon as they filled out their roster.
Here's the thing about guys at the end of the bench. If you're going to be at the end of the bench, you need to have one discernible skill that if all else fails, there's one thing that you are pretty good at. Yeah. Kornet, he can shoot the hell out of the ball. That's an absolute
block some shots, apparently.
I'm not going there just yet, Bobby. He did that tonight, but
a little bit.
I'm not going to put that on. That is not going to be on his resume.
How about the way Tyler Zeller used to block shots? No, a little bit of that.
You had to bring in Tyler Zeller.
He'd give you a block every once in a while. He'll give you a block like that. He's got that going.
Okay, I'll give you that. But
I mean, it's Zeller. But
all I'm saying, if the Celtics are interested in Isaiah, we know who's going to get cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do. But you know what we haven't talked about is Jaylen Brown, who was all in the bag.
Pass.
Yeah. No, we're doing Jaylen tonight.
I'm just messing around.
John, you know we got called out on Twitter about that. You already know.
I know. It cracks me up. Like
he was the thing about Jaylen tonight.
The 2 minutes on Jaylen.
It wasn't even just that he was scoring; it was how he was scoring. I mean, he was seriously in his and one bag. I mean, behind the back, between the legs, splitting defenders for layups. I mean, this was the Jaylen Brown special tonight. He was really good, really good.
Honestly, he can keep those in his bag. I just like it when he's just in shooting in rhythm, and he was doing it was that early season.
I feel the complete opposite.
Early season Jaylen. I like when he goes to the basket too. I don't like when he gets super fancy because he's still he had 6 turnovers. He's losing the ball off his leg on a lot of those moves, but I like him when he's aggressive and attacking or when he's, when he's quick and decisive to shoot. And Bobby disagrees with everything apparently.
This is exactly what I want from him. I want him active on the ball, involved on every single play, taking a ton of shots every game because he's this efficient. And I saw Jared Weiss tweet this out. This was the most efficient game for a high volume shooter in Celtics history. No one has ever shot this efficient shooting 15 or more shots. And only 32 players have done it in NBA history. Now he came in garbage time and hit a few more.
Oh my God! How important was that bucket? How important was that bucket in garbage time? Like they needed something, and that was a difficult shot. I mean, he's driving, but he's off balance. He clearly get bumped, and he's one-handed off the glass. That was a really tough bucket. They absolutely had to have it too. So
I'm going to look up NBA history players who have shot this efficient on 20 shots. I'm sure it's a very short list.
Yeah, this was Jared he had 36 points in like 30 minutes. My goodness,
he was bananas.
I think he's like the 32nd player to score that many points off of.
Seriously though, I mean,
something like that.
Who's more efficient in the NBA right now? Like we're talking centers when it comes to guys who are this efficient. Right. It's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Who? No, no question. But I was thinking of John down the stretch when that last basket, the way he caught it, I was like, whoa, that might be a turnover. He's gonna lead with this. If Jaylen loses the ball, this is a 1 possession game. Well, I think it was a 5-point game, but still too close for comfort, right? And I'm thinking if Jaylen loses the ball here, opening segment, going in on Jaylen Brown.
I would not have done that, but
he made it.
He would have thought about it. He wouldn't have done it.
You would have mentioned it for sure. No question.
No, that's not right. I love Jaylen. The knock here is that we don't talk about Jaylen when he has one of those like 25-point games because he played well. And it's like, it's because it's sometimes you're right. Efficiency can be boring sometimes. He goes out and has those kind of yawn, like, hey, 24-point games on, 8 of 14 shooting. And you're like, yeah, whatever. He does it all the time. But I mean, he was out of his mind tonight. So I mean, it's impossible not to talk about it.
So 20 shots, 17 or 20 shot, at least 20 shots and 85% field goal. Only 16 players have ever done it. David Robinson, Shaq, Carlos Boozer, Larry Wright, Eddie Curry, Dominique Wilkins. 6'8"? Well, Klay Thompson and Gordon Hayward have done it, believe it or not. Gordon Hayward did it with the Celtics.
Did it here.
He shot 17 to 20 in a game.
That's funny.
The greatest game he ever played.
Who else? Kareem, Giannis, Will.
We'll leave Gordon. We'll leave Gordon alone tonight.
No, but you're right. I mean, look, there's other guys out there too who are doing this, like just in terms of efficiency. I mean, Luka, Beal, Curry. They're all shooting close to Jaylen's percentage for guards. Zach LaVine actually higher field goal percentage. So there's a lot of guys having seasons like Kawhi. Also Booker's out of his mind. So there's quite a few non-bigs at or around 50% shooting this season. So it is, and a lot of guys who make a lot of their bones not at the rim either. So I mean, Jaylen's been phenomenal, but there's a bunch of guys this year who are actually absolutely lighting it up.
There's also a bunch of teams that aren't playing defense.
Yeah, I mean, the year of no defense changes every year.
Like the Lakers have the best defensive rating in the league, but in past years, that would be maybe 4th, 5th, maybe. I think right now the Lakers, who have the best defensive rating, it'll be like the worst defensive rating for an NBA leader ever since they've been keeping track of that stat.
And it's hard to call this team that we saw tonight the Lakers. You know, I mean, whatever stats are associated with this team, it certainly doesn't apply here. We do need to mention, now that we have a bunch of you guys in here hanging out with us, we are doing it. We're going to do it again. We're going to do this locker room thing. Locker room. We are sponsored by Locker Room. Okay.
We went in the other night.
And we went for Josue made it a full 8 minutes before falling asleep in the chat.
We have the source here. We need to see what happens.
That's how you do me, huh?
Josue, I thought of tonight just putting a still of you in the screen here and see if anybody noticed.
I did a solid half.
Well, so you fell asleep on the air.
He had himself muted, and I'm thinking like, oh, he's just being respectful and quiet. No, he was knocked the hell out.
Yeah. I was tiptoeing out of there a little bit.
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, so I'm gonna I didn't even see it. Yeah.
No, I spoke for a while, and then I was like, little by little. You know, when you're at the party, you're trying to make your way out. You know, you don't want to make a huge scene.
So
yes, we do know Josue. Now we do.
Exactly.
So I see people freaking out about the collapse blasting Brad. I mean, it's funny to laugh at, but I mean, come on. What do you do?
Wait, who blasted what? Wait,
everyone's blasting Brad online.
Time out. I didn't finish. The Locker Room, let me just get the message out.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, guys. So Locker Room, it's an audio-only app for those of you who are new to it or new to the show. If so, welcome. But do two things. Go to the iOS. Go download this on the iOS App Store. It's not available on Android yet, but download it. And we will put a link in the chat here, and you guys can come join us and hang out. And we will. What you get to do is you get to be part of the conversation. So you raise your hand. We put you on the stage with us, and we talk basketball. So it's kind of our post game show overtime. We're going to carry it out after we talk here for a little bit. So definitely come join us. It's been fun. We've done it every game for the last few games. Even with these late games, we're really big in Australia and Indonesia. These guys friggin' love these West Coast games because they're getting out of work. Yeah, they're getting out of work and hanging with us. Right. But the rest of you, if you want to hang. If you haven't talked yet or you haven't joined the chat, please do. We want to hear from more of you. But Bobby, go into what you were talking about.
People, all I gotta say is people are blasting Brad. What do you want him to do?
Who was blasting Brad for what?
People on Twitter, they're freaking out because they blew the lead.
People on Twitter aren't real, Bobby.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of them. Like this isn't just one guy. I'm seeing. Yeah, you're right. But again, if anyone's in the chat thinking that, or anyone's on Twitter saying that, again, you don't want to bring the starters back in too soon. You don't want to bring the starters back in at all. If they had just made one basket down the stretch there, they would have been fine.
When you empty the bench like that with a 27-point lead against the Lakers that don't have LeBron, don't have AD, Schroeder had like an infected foot and he was limping out there.
I was stunned he played.
Yeah. There's no reason in the world why your end of the bench guys should not be able to maintain a 27-point cushion.
Yeah. That's all there is to it.
I mean,
that's unacceptable.
I can't put that. Now, the only thing that I would say, maybe Brad should have gone with the core guys a little bit earlier. But to me, that's just being nitpicky. Because in his shoes, why should I have to do that? You're NBA players. I'm literally asking you to hold down the fort. You don't have to step it up. You just be adequate.
That being said, the only thing I'll say, I agree, Bobby. Anybody criticizing Brad for playing your bench in a 27-point game, I mean,
that's ridiculous.
But I will say the only thing, if you're Brad, you do want to say with the caveat, like, guys, I do want you to play, but let's not just be smart. You don't shoot in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. You know, like I know we don't get lots of action. You got to play smart. Work the ball around. Get a good shot. Play a real game.
Kill some clock.
Kill some clock. Play as if it's a real situation. But when you see Tremont Waters getting the ball and like, oh my God, and he's
Lakers were getting close with 3:50 to go. They were killing any
that's
clock.
What I mean. Like
Tremont's pushing the pace and shooting early in the clock. At that point, you just pull him out. Like you don't have to do the wholesale change, but you call a timeout and you say, you have to stop this. Like you are killing us. And Edwards, guys, individually, this is a disaster. Like, slow it down. That's the only thing I'll say there. You know,
I think that's what makes it so frustrating, because it's like you look at the starters and it's like they gave you a good enough cushion to close this one out. And you know what? Just like what was it last week when I applauded Brad for keeping the starters in at the end of that first quarter because they weren't playing so well, but he wanted them to figure it out because they were playing the damn Minnesota Timberwolves, I believe it was that game. Like, in that same regard, the second unit garbage time squad, whatever you want to call them, that's their job. You're supposed to take care of that lead. And you know what? For the starting unit, you got to beat up on them in practice next time, you know, or they're not going to have much practice, right? Next time you guys can get in 5-on-5 or whatever. I mean, that's because they're going to need that. I mean, the starters need to be in a space in the postseason, or even heading towards the end of the regular season. They have to feel in a space where they can say, okay, if we have a good enough cushion, we can trust these guys to take over. We trust these guys to close this one out. And they have to be ready for that as well. You know,
this is why it matters, Josue. Because, again, these guys that we're talking about don't matter, but the guys above them aren't that much better off that bench. Like tonight, Romeo, Grant, Semi, those kind of guys that were playing bench minutes. Wasn't great. Those guys were squandering leads too. Made it a little bit too close during middle portions of this game, which they turned we won't even get into.
They pushed. They won the game with the Kornet group. I mean, they won it with a couple bench guys out there mixed in with starters.
Kornet was good. That was a huge relief.
But I thought Jaylen was done. Like, Jaylen shouldn't have grabbed his 40-piece tonight. Like, he should have been done by then. Like, you know?
No, but when Fournier was with that group a week and a half ago against Charlotte, they actually extended a lead in a blowout. So it was a different story then when you had an extra starter who could
the best part about that last group that was out there is it gives you yet another receipt as to justifying why certain guys will not play when you can empty the bench. Like number 20, because I'm not going to say his name, number 20 for the Boston Celtics, I don't want to see him out there again all season.
Now that's the second guess, playing him over Taco.
That's for me.
Is that Wagner's number? I had to go look it up. Okay. That's
when they gave Hayward's number away.
Think about this, though. We have seen Taco on the floor into the game plenty of times. We have never seen a squad with Taco on the floor.
If I'm Taco tonight, like this. I'm having a conversation. This is my role.
Exactly. I mean, and Taco can be like, you do realize that doesn't happen when I get in the game, end of game, right? You do know that, right?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
And that isn't the first time this happened this year. I don't know. I couldn't remember the game, but there was another walk. There was a walk of shame game earlier in the year too. It might have been Washington.
There was. It happens again. Like I said, it's when you have two, starting caliber / top 7 players out. What you're bringing in off the bench, even in those blowouts, is totally different. But it's we know this. Look, they were thin. Then they traded for Fournier. They're still pretty thin, but you are still looking at least eight. How many players? Obviously, the starters plus Fournier plus Tristan is 7, and then you feel pretty good having Pritchard out there as well.
And you're Kornet now.
You're about.
I'm not there, Bobby. I'm not there. Just
not there.
Can we do it?
What, the Kornet segment?
Can we do it? Yeah.
Aren't we kind of doing it?
Yeah, I think we did already.
Do we want to rise him?
Listen, Bobby, let's go all in on Kornet right now and just get it out of our system, because we're not going to get many opportunities going forward. You know that, and I know that. So let's get it out your system now. Come on, let's have it.
So I was stunned the last few games ago when Tristan Thompson came back and Kornet was taken out of the rotation, because
you were stunned.
You were stunned?
Yes, I was stunned. I thought they would continue to funnel him a few minutes a night, especially on a night like Portland on Tuesday.
Can we do this without hyperbole?
Pick and roll.
Can we just say he played okay and do this without hyperbole?
I think he's an awesome defender. I
don't even have a graphic with him with a green shirt yet. He's wearing red.
Again, three assists here. They won't
even give me an updated graphic. I'm looking at. He's wearing red here, Bobby.
I'm gonna pull my Rasheed Wallace card and just say Kornet played well tonight. That's what everything you say about him. Kornet played well tonight,
and then leave it there.
Every time it's the opposite of Wagner. Every time he has played so far, he's been good, and
Kornet played well tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, look, from the very beginning, whether it's a 3-point shot or the hard screens or heck, even the good hands
passes.
Yeah, it's solid. It's good. You know, when someone's in foul trouble, when someone's not available, and Robert Williams, but it's not ideal.
Kornet played well tonight.
You know, it's not ideal.
That's it.
All I'm going to say is I could see him back with the team next year. I think he does a lot of things they like. I think he fits a great role there.
If that happens, that's the end of the
He's got nice size.
For Taco, man.
I think
I played well tonight.
You guys, all right, I might be too high on him, but you guys are definitely too low on him right now.
I just think if we're going to go through likely scenarios right now, I think it's more likely Kornet is playing like in Spain than he is on the Celtics.
Wow.
Well, let's put it this way. If he's back with the Celtics next year, that means Danny did not get done what he was planning to get done in the offseason. Because I can guarantee you Danny anticipates he will have an upgrade over Luke Kornet next season.
All right.
I feel very confident in saying he plans to have an upgrade over Luke Kornet next season.
Let's put this on tape for training camp 2021. I like him a lot more than you guys.
I'm not saying that's not the plan.
I don't disagree with that.
My question there, Bobby, is why do this to your reputation? Okay, like,
listen, I was not waving.
Why is this the hill you want to die on, the Luke Kornet hill?
I thought this guy was out the door when they got him. I didn't know anything about him, but I've watched him play in 5 or 6 games now, and he's done good things pretty much every minute he's been on the floor. I think he's a valuable rotation piece at that position.
I swear I think you do this intentionally.
Hey, I got some supporters in the chat, I think.
You like him as your second center or your third center?
Third center, for sure.
Okay.
I was going to say, if he's just second, that's a problem.
Well, again, all right, so let's make this a real conversation.
That's what I meant about the Taco thing. If he's back next year, then Taco's gone. You can't have 2 of those at the end of the bench, right? I mean,
so let's say Rob's about to miss some real time here, which
seems even though Brad said he's day-to-day and he's not worried. But let's just assume he's going to miss a lot of time.
Well, who knows? I think they got to do more tests and stuff like that and see what it is and be cautious. I would definitely be cautious with it if they could.
Yeah, especially this close to the playoffs, yeah.
Say he's going to miss 3 or 4 games here. I feel pretty good about Kornet taking those minutes.
I'd start him.
Robert Williams?
Bobby. Wait, time out. When you
say
you feel good about him playing those minutes, are you saying you feel good that he can give you comparable production or impact of Robert Williams?
No, I'm saying he can step in and be a good backup to Tristan.
No, he tried to bail you out too, man. Sherrod, you tried.
I did. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
I said, "Here's the preserver."
I'm like, Bobby, take
it. He's walking you back off the ledge, and you're just running right out to it again.
This is what Kornet gets for 4 blocks, 3 assists.
Teammate.
Yeah,
I'm trying to help you.
He got the hoodie on and everything. Jeez.
This is the Kornet segment Bobby wanted.
I'm just saying, Bobby, put it this way.
I guess I just need a few more games out of him to get an
Robert
apology
Williams,
cam from you 3.
Robert Williams
played well tonight.
Robert Williams is probably the 3rd or 4th, I don't know, whatever you want to say, biggest reason for this turnaround, or at least a significant part of it. Like, taking him out of that and just plugging in Kornet, that's a tough.
I'm not glad Rob's gone. I'm not going to do that.
Sure, you're not.
I'm just saying.
With or
Rob's
without
out.
Daniel Tice,
you could either have Mo Wagner or Luke Kornet here.
Bobby was so excited to share that with us in the chat today that Rob was out. He was so excited because he got to get Tristan to start and he got Kornet.
Tristan played a good game.
He did.
Tristan's good run here.
I will do it. We can do a legit
Robert Williams shade to a whole nother level, man.
I know. We can do a legit Tristan Thompson is good segment because I expect Tristan Thompson's playing his best basketball of the season post COVID here, right?
This is the Cleveland Tristan Thompson that I was expecting.
Much better, right?
But you knew it was going to happen in LA too. You knew he was going to be feeling himself in LA, except for that free throw.
Even without
LA, this was a 2022 audition for LA. He's like, hey guys, come get me.
No problem.
You don't want Drummond. You don't need Drummond.
Come get me. This is the goods.
You saw when he dapped up. You saw when he dapped up LeBron.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I know you saw my phone calls and text messages. You never call me back. What's going on?
Well, it's a good night to
next season. I'm going to LA. Let's do this.
This is a good night as a reminder that we really wanted Drummond here. Just because, if you can take a guy like that, you take him.
I never did.
We all wanted him. I can pull the tape and see that we all wanted him.
Most fans that wanted him, it was like a cop-out. It wasn't like desire, It was just
this is my thing. If you could get Andre Drummond for pennies on a dollar, then absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
We said we'd take him on the walkout, but none of us wept when he signed elsewhere. Like
exactly.
It was
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, we were like, whatever. I was actually wondering again.
If you were bought out and you can get it for minimum, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even then, I was still dubious because if it meant reduced Rob minutes in a weird 3-man rotation at center and having to start him to placate his ego or whatever promises you would have made to get him to come here, all of that stuff I thought was a little bit iffy. So, I wasn't super sure about.
I'll claim it. I was openly a LaMarcus Aldridge guy. So,
yeah,
but yeah.
I was one of the guys who would just take him if he would come. Now, Tristan, we didn't know what Tristan would be able to provide at that time. He was still low, and he did not play all that well before he went out. He has played sensational since he's come back.
Well, you know what they're doing more of though now, Bobby? I mean, they're attacking the rim, and when the defense collapses, they're either finishing with contact or they're finding Tristan. And Tristan is doing a good job of making himself available, giving them an alternative to throw the rock to. And
he's passing it out.
Yes. But we didn't see that
good hands
earlier.
To grab some of those passes, man. Like one of them in particular was Marcus Smart. Man, that lob, I was like, Rob Williams could get that. I mean, but Tristan Thompson, like he had to go out and get that. And whether it's in traffic or whether it's down low, behind the back from Jayson Tatum. Oh, man.
Right.
Like, for him to even weave that through. But again, credit to Tatum, but also credit to Tristan Thompson for grabbing that through those Lakers hands, through those Lakers defenders.
On top of that, there was one thing, Bobby, just real quick. You don't want to pass up an opportunity for me to compliment your boy Tristan. But
apology cam time.
No, one thing I jokingly, kind of tweeted about was that he passed out of the post early in the game. He got one down low. He never does that, but he immediately looked for Jaylen. Jaylen knocked down a 3. That was early in the first quarter. And I was like, one, the movement was outstanding across the board. In that first quarter, they really stagnated a little bit after that, initial run, but they were moving the ball great. But Tristan was part of that. He wasn't that little vacuum where he gets it in there. And doing all of the things that you love seeing him doing, which is just fighting for every rebound, every loose ball. Like that's what he's supposed to be doing out there. But you're right.
He leveled Horton-Tucker on one play.
He did.
On the boards.
He did. It was beautiful.
There are 4 things about him that I noticed.
5 assists for Tristan Thompson. That was outstanding.
Yeah, that's the big one for me.
Damn.
He's moving the ball out of the post. It's almost like he's watching Robin, like, crap, that's what you got to do.
Oh, you can pass. I get it. But 5 is a season high for assists for him. I think by 2. I looked earlier. I think his season high was 3. So, I mean, that's a big deal for him. So that was great.
And then you got the Celtics offensive rebounding machine, a.k.a. Payton Pritchard. How does he do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
this is a team.
Everyone sleeps on him.
They're legitimate offensive rebounds. I mean, he's actually leaving the ground, snatching it. It's not like it's just falling in his hands. How the hell does he do that consistently?
That's the identity of this team, really. They're going to be all over the offensive boards every night in ways that
been their identity lately. Lately, yes.
It is crazy. No. That's never been them. Not since the Danny Fortson days. Like that's not a that's
Danny Fortson. Oh man, yo, that dude's a beast. I remember him.
Danny Fortson.
No, and you know what amazes me about it, John?
And then they got him. What was it? Was it the Nuggets, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just messing around, but that's never been a thing that they excel at.
No, but they're really good at it.
And they're really doing it. And you got to throw it. That's a team effort there too, because you have Marcus obviously is aggressive. Romeo in his stint has been really, really good on the offensive glass.
Nesmith? When Nesmith was playing, he was all over it.
Yeah, Nesmith crashing his body all over the place, trying to make some contribution. Yeah. Yes, even he was doing something.
When his code was working,
Rob, obviously has been outstanding. Yeah, exactly.
Now there's downsides to that. I think that's another reason their defense hasn't been what it can be this year, because if everyone's piling in, that's just going to send the other team out the other way when they don't get it. But they're so good at it that they get that ball at a higher rate than other teams do. And usually they turn it into outside shots. Rob gets a ton of assists in those opportunities. The way in which they chase those rebounds and are smart with their putback attempts and second chance opportunities makes it a truly effective play for them. It wears away at opposing defenses, and they do it against some of the best rebounding teams in the league. I know the Lakers didn't have their best personnel out there tonight. It would have been impressive to see that against Drummond and the likes, but they've done it against the Clippers. They've done it against Minnesota at this point. Like, just some bigger teams with great rebounders inside, they get in there. And what I want to throw out there about Thompson, since he came back, 100 defensive rating, 121 offensive rating. That's just astounding. They're killing opposing second units with him and Grant out there. Grant's defensive rating with Thompson is 99. I mean, in today's NBA, that's elite of the elite.
Yeah. Yeah, because in this NBA this year, I mean, if your defensive rating is like below 105, you're like elite.
Yeah,
solid,
which is scary, because that's like maybe top 10 most years.
I'd say the average is like 111 this year.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, a lot of it. I feel like now this final stretch, teams can either be showing their true identity, or they could just fall from the wayside. You know what I mean? Like, they could just see the finish line and say, this is it, pack it in, pack it out. And the Celtics, look at the rest of the what's left, the teams that are left on their regular season schedule. I mean, I don't expect these guys to win out, but they can really secure one of these top 5 spots.
Their schedule is not that hard the rest of the way if you look at
it. Tonight's win is very significant because of what happened the game before them, right? I mean, the Atlanta Hawks.
So that's a cool thing that happened.
They dropped
obviously
one against the Bucks. I mean, all of a sudden, look at that. They're tied. But again, a couple of losses here and there, a couple of wins. It could go either way, but the Celtics, the schedule is in their favor. Let's see if they don't, mess this one up.
Yeah, because I think they're like bottom 10 as far as like strength of schedule the rest of the way.
And you can tell when you look at it. They got the Thunder, the Hornets twice, the Spurs who are falling apart, the Magic, Cavs, Wolves.
Right.
Down the stretch here.
Those teams they're smelling vacation or whatever. They're like, yeah, let's just pack it in, and Celtics have to just pick up.
They should be able to stack up at least another 10 wins out of these remaining games.
I think so. I mean, the only hard games left: Suns, Nets, a Heat series, Blazers, and that's about it. There's only about 5 really hard games left.
Heat, Blazers,
win the games you're supposed to, and win half the games that are up in the air, and you're looking at another 12, 13 wins.
Yeah, this team can really go on a run here to end the year, especially if they're going to get healthy. All they need is Fournier back now, and this team looks loaded, complete, and finally balanced on both ends of the floor. I mean, they're getting healthy and they're getting right at the both time, as long as Rob is right here. And I know John's just kind of shaking that one off, but that does worry me about.
I don't believe anybody when it comes to injuries. So no question about it.
You weren't concerned about the hip when you first found out about it, John? Come on.
No, I'm saying I don't believe. No, it's the opposite. I actually always think it's worse. At this point, the fact that he was probable and not out, right out of the gate seems like a cautious approach more than it does,
legitimate concern.
Concern, but that's my vibe. Maybe not. We'll see. But certainly you'll feel a lot better about it when he's there, and playing. So,
I like that. I like that starting 5. Like I've been saying, the more reps for those guys, the better.
Yeah. So that's good here. As far as this game goes, again, not a ton to be learned because it was such a banged up Celtics team, but outside of Jaylen and outside of Tristan, and we did an ungodly amount on Kornet already.
Did a whole damn episode on Kornet.
The other guys,
anything else?
KEMBA, I'd say.
Anything else that stood out to you guys? KEMBA was there.
He had 7 assists, which was good to see.
But the other thing, the streak of assists with KEMBA, I think that's like
it's real.
It's 6 straight games now, I think, with 5 or more or 6 or more assists. I forget what it is, but it's definitely something real, and it's definitely something that Sherrod talked about it last game. Definitely matters because you're talking about him kind of redefining himself and making an impact in some way, whether it's in the way that he's normally accustomed to. What's funny is I think was it Shaq saying it? And who cares what Shaq and Barkley say? They don't watch basketball. I don't even think they watch the games that they're talking about on the night that they're on TV. But I don't. I really don't. I literally don't even think they're watching the Celtics game, when they go to talk at halftime. But he was saying Kemba's around 18 now. He's got to get himself to 22 points per game in the playoffs if Boston's going to go anywhere. And I completely disagree with that. I don't think that that's what he needs to be at all. I would actually rather this version of Kemba that takes the offense when it's there, and is a little bit more of a facilitator and does more things. We saw his line last game, the rebounds and assists. I'll take 7 assist Kemba. I'll take 7 assist, 14-point Kemba any day.
Depends on how we get those 14 points. I mean, tonight he was 4 for 7 shooting, and that's great. Yeah. But if he's like 4 for 17 shooting with 14 points, different. It's not.
But that's why I'll take efficient Kemba. It worries me. So I can never tell whether it's a decision for Kemba saying, I'm doing what the game needs and I'm going to shoot less, or feels for some reason he can't get his shot. Because that's always the worry is like, is there anything physical behind him feeling that like, I can't get to my spot today, so I'm not going to be trying as much? Or it's just this isn't a game where you need me. JB's hot and I'm just going to move the ball around. If it comes to me and an opportunity to score, I'll take it. Was it a passive game for him in that regard? Is he deciding that he wants to, this is how he wants to play it? Because when he has these really low shot games, sometimes it's matchup. It's like, specific, but I don't know. Why do you think those kind of come up from time to time?
Well, I think tonight, this was more about end of the road trip. JB's got it going on. We're just going to ride him all the way back to Boston and get this win. But I think you're right, John. I do think that he does have games where the matchup, more than anything else, dictates how aggressive he is as far as looking for a shot. But again, that gets back to what I was saying the other day about how I like the fact that Kemba is figuring out ways to contribute and not have to score to do so. Because I think when he first came here, that's kind of what they were expecting and looking for him every single night. And I thought that was a problem with that because remember, in Charlotte, he scored a ton of points, but he wasn't efficient with it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a feel for whether he could make that transformation to becoming an efficient scorer when he's been in the league for damn near a decade and hasn't been. Yeah. So what's he going to give me other than points? Can he do other things? Can he rebound? Defense, I'm not even going to worry about defense because Kemba's always going to be at some disadvantage at that end of the floor. Can he do other things to help us offensively? And Kemba's doing that. His rebounding, his passing, and along the passing, he's also keeping the turnovers low. That's another part. Because I think he had 2 turnovers tonight, and so 7 assists. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's really important, especially Saturday. I think Saturday night's going to be such a great test. Steph Curry is doing his thing, obviously trying to will his team into a better, playoff positioning. And, it's Saturday night at TD Garden. The lights will be bright and everybody's going to be, playoff atmosphere. Players will be really competitive. And I think this is a great opportunity for Kemba to demonstrate what he can do if he's not, the most best, the greatest defender against shiftier guards like a Steph Curry. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Marcus Smart, is able to defend that. But of course, Kemba is really interesting because on the offensive end, like you said, Sherrod, and we talked about it the other night. I mean, if he's not feeling it, if he's not hitting those 3-point shots, he has to be effective offensively to get guys their shots. Make sure guys are put in their good position to score while also, of course, taking care of that basketball. Jaylen Brown, sometimes he's racking up those turnovers. John, you talked about it. We saw what happened with the team as a whole. All those turnovers in the second half. How the Lakers were able to come back. I mean, you can't do that against the Warriors. You can't really do that against any team at this point of the season for the Celtics team trying to find this identity or at least turn this final stretch here. They just can't. I just think they have to clean it up more. Obviously, the second half, you walk away from this Lakers game thinking that, but also you go into this Warriors game implementing cleaner basketball offensively and specifically seeing how Kemba Walker's going to do in this matchup against Steph Curry.
They got to stay on the string defensively. I mean, that to me, we can go through all of the great scoring that JB's doing and Tatum is killing everyone and Kemba's keeping turnovers high, assists high and turnovers low, but it's their defense that's winning them these games. They've been like bottom 5, bottom 10 for a good part of the season. You look at the last 10 games coming into this, I think they were like maybe 4th or 5th in defensive rating.
It's all a choice, though. Like I know right. Bobby will talk about personnel, and certainly Tristan has helped. It's really all a choice. You could see early in this game, their rotations, they were just moving. There weren't a lot of early looks. Then they fell out of it a little.
You didn't call timeout once.
Yeah, then they fell out of it a little bit, and you could see all of a sudden LA started getting some early looks. So, it's not just this year. It's not just this team. It's basketball. Defense is a choice. It always is. It's just whether or not you want to fully commit to playing full effort. And again, a lot of people make the case, this year, the reason teams aren't doing it, tight packed schedule, short rosters, COVID lung, all of these factors. There's a lot of people. It's like, am I really going to friggin' run around here
it's
crazy?
Connectivity too with the unit.
Yeah.
And when you have guys moving in and out of the unit too, that destroys some of the cohesion in these groups, as well as lineups. I mean, we can all look back on that Tice Thompson thing and say that was never going to succeed defensively.
But you have to just recognize that, like, you know what? We tried it the other way and it didn't work. So the only way we're going to be able to get back and win and get on any sort of consistent streak is if we commit to it. And you see them having done that more so over this little
playoff
stretch.
Time, you better.
And so you kind of you talk about flipping a switch. It's nice to know you can do it defensively, because you have to be able to. That's the most perplexing thing about this team all year. Like, it's so easy to bitch about the offense and not getting enough scoring from the bench and this and that, but ultimately, just decent defensive effort and two superstar players should have this team 10 games over 500 without really trying. But look at all these games that they lost to Washington's and New York and just. Not New York's not a bad team, but I mean, how many bottom feeders have they dropped games to by just not showing up or not giving it an effort? Way too many this year. So
sure. I want to throw in one more thing on Kemba. The stats are just astounding for him this month, because if you look at his numbers, it's probably the worst shooting month he's had since the first month coming in off that injury. Yeah. But it's the best he's fit with the offense when you think of assists, ball movement, rebounding, stuff you talk about, just finding a role within that unit, defense even. He's been a part of an effective defensive group with this team. And that assist to turnover ratio, 49-11, for a team that has turned the ball over a ton this year. That was his most important attribute last year, is he kept the turnovers low, he controlled the ball, and he hasn't been, this month he's averaging over 7 assists. He's never been that guy in his career. But this is what you said, John.
That's he never played with guys who could let him be that guy.
Right. That's what's in. Again, it's
Gilchrist is not going to get it done.
It's so funny seeing the chat. There's a ton of people in here who are viewing this game as a trash game and get rid of him. And it's like, I've been
blown away by him this month.
I think I think, again, I don't know about blown away.
How about that Portland performance? He found Rob. He was finding shooters.
He had to address that right away. That was funny.
But like I said, there's no reason to make the point with hyperbole. Like, Kornet's not starting, and I'm not blown away by 7
this is a guy who, for a guy who dishes 4 assists a game in his career, to be getting 7 every night now, that's significant.
Again, it's 7 assists. You can't get blown away by an average number
from him.
From a point guard.
From him, I am.
But you can be happy. He had a good game tonight. Okay?
He's a score first point guard. And he's been that his whole life. Now he's adjusting to become a facilitator.
Well, this is the conversation
Bobby,
we're having. Right.
We can't ignore the fact that he's got a significantly better cast.
He did last year too.
Yeah.
And he was learning how to play with those guys last year.
Yeah.
But it would be, again, Kemba doing a little of everything versus, and again, that's where I mentioned it to start. You see the low shot attempt. Like, you love this line from Marcus Smart, right? When he's got, more assists, 8 or 9 shots, 4 of 8, like, that's a great Marcus Smart line. Is it a great Kemba Walker line? That's what we're trying to figure out now. Are you comfortable with this version of Kemba if this is what you get? And every once in a while, or do you need, as Barkley said or Shaq said, the guy who is doing that, but also pumping in 17, 18 points a game, versus 10 or 12. You might need a little bit more output to tick it up, but also have that other stuff, because 23 point Kemba, I think, is gone. He's averaging about 17 for the year now. You'd like to see that, while also, on just more efficient, as Sherrod said, is how did you get to that total? Did you get it going 4 for 7 or 4 for 17? It's nice to get to 17 points if he's shooting 6 for 13, 6 for 12, as opposed to having to jack 20 shots to get his points, which is not what this team needs. Because on a night Kemba's shooting 20 times, that's taking shots away from Jaylen and Jayson, and you don't want that. How many times you see Jaylen just disappear for stretches? That was my biggest point coming in this year. Yeah. How would he be useful on this team without getting in Jaylen's way? Because Jaylen's going to be getting on that ball and scoring more, and that needs to be the case every night. So I don't want to see Walker taking a lot of shots and taking possessions away from Brown. Brown's just a more efficient player and a more dynamic player at this point.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, though, you need Kemba to just he has to be that threat, right? I mean, if he's like 7 for 10, or if he's, something like that, teams aren't going to leave him open. I mean, regardless, even if he's having a cold night for the most part, right? They're not going to leave him, that open out there. But when he's a constant threat, because teams know that even if he hasn't scored in plus minutes or whatever, or if he's gone scoreless for the bulk of the first, 5 minutes, 6 minutes of a fourth quarter, he could still drop 2 back-to-back threes on you, and all of a sudden, you're going to call timeout.
You need to do that to be a great passer too. You can't just be taking no shots and trying to get to positions, and that's kind of how Smart became a great passer. Like, he wasn't the most efficient scorer, but he was getting to those spots and making himself a threat and showing that he was willing to take all of those shots. The defenses had to react accordingly. Now this is Kemba. Defenses are gonna react anyway. But you know what I've noticed about him this month too? We've talked about this all season, John. Getting to the rim. He couldn't do a period to start this year.
That was the biggest concern, and especially last game, he got there. That's exactly it. It's that half step and just extending out in front of you. Just before, he was getting blocked every time,
and so he's finishing there, and he can pass from there, and defenses don't know which he's going to do. He's shooting 60% inside this month.
You guys joked about it where I put up that graphic that showed his 2-point shooting stats. But remember, he went through that spell where he just didn't score any points, any non-3-pointers.
Finished with like 6 points one game, and then
but he just couldn't do it. It was
0.
crazy.
I remember that graphic. It was like 20 points, 0 from 2.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
No, but it was weird. It was remarkable because he was so so inefficient early. So yes, seeing him get to it's again, like Sherrod said, how he's getting his points. I'm going to tell everybody again one more time, because I feel bad, actually. We got a ton of people in the room for 1:30 a.m. So we will keep it going a little while longer. I don't want to totally bolt, but it is late. It is a school night, and we do have to head over to locker room, and we will be doing that soon. So again, just a reminder to everybody, guys, some of you guys, I'm starting to get mad at you. Like, you're in here all day long. Come join us. Come join the party. It's the after party. Like, what do you sit here and you yell at us on the chat all day long? Come yell at us for real. Let's lend your voices to the conversation. Okay. Download the app. And I know we have a lot of you guys who said it's an Android situation. And I totally get it. And again, hopefully that's going to be rectified. But if you have an iPhone or whatever, a Mac product, download it, jump on with us. Join the chat, audio only app. It's our sponsor. We want to show them love because it allows us to keep doing this. It allows us to do more of this, hopefully. So come join the chat. Sherrod and I are going to head over. These guys are going to come over a little bit after that. Josue is in it to win it tonight. He's going to be there the whole time.
He made some adjustments. He looked at what went wrong on Tuesday, and he changed it around.
He's here.
Colombian coffee.
We're going to get the best version of Josue tonight. For sure.
Best version of Josue. First 5 questions, all at Josue. You got to keep him engaged. If you give him a chance you don't want Josue standing up at the 3-point line, okay? We got to run we're going to run some sets for him early. Yeah.
You think I'm not there, and then I'll come in and I'll laugh at one of your jokes. I'll I'll have a retort for you.
So I found this interesting.
I appreciate
tonight.
you laughing at my jokes. Thank you, though.
I know Sherrod mentioned Payton Pritchard tonight, who quietly did have a pretty good game.
He did.
He said after the game, I think you could say I hit the rookie wall. It's a grind for sure. You get tired. You have to stay physically and mentally prepared. Yeah. That's something I can continue to improve on. And, there was a stretch at the beginning of the season where like every single night the opening segment was Pritchard, and he got lost in the fold for a little bit there. So it's tough to tell. Is he going to be that dynamic guy from the beginning of the season, or is he going to kind of get lost in the fold here in the playoff time? It's tough to tell like what his role is going to become playoff time because he was so important early on.
Well, I think – oh, go ahead, Sherrod.
No, you got it, Josue.
All right, well, I was going to say, I think he's starting to get back to getting the ball in his hands more often. And I don't know if that was a little bit of more experimenting between Brad Stevens and the second unit and obviously trying to deal
Jeff
with –
T.
Yeah, trying to deal with the interchanging pieces and what was it, the trade deadline. There's a lot going on at that time. And of course, that's when Pritchard hit that rookie wall. But, in that second quarter, when you see Tatum, giving the ball to him or at least letting him bring the ball up, I think that's because you're going to have that secondary playmaker coming off your bench down the stretch and, of course, into the postseason. I think Pritchard can be that guy. I mean, he just weathers the storm. I mean, whether it's a situation where the Celtics are behind or the Celtics just have to start, settling down a bit, they get a little too trigger happy towards the end of the first quarter and they start blowing away a lead or whatever the case may be.
How good is his shot?
Pritchard can come in and get that ball.
Pretty.
He controls the offense.
He went cold for a bit.
Somebody. And, of course, who can give you that defensive energy on the other end as well.
I'm just talking about how it looks, John. Like the two he hit on the right wing there, it's smooth. Yeah.
I mean, look, one of the great things about Pritchard, and it's been since day one, is he's fearless. So he doesn't play like a guy who's worried, like, am I going to make a mistake and get pulled? Or, doesn't look like the moment's too big for him at all. But the trade-off is he can take some hero ball shots, and he's had so every once in a while he's kind of jacking shots where like that's not really the one you should be looking for, but it's because he's willing to take those that he's been successful. But his shooting for this month of April has been just atrocious. So he definitely did hit a wall. I mean, he's shooting 30% for the month, 23 from three, after going 50 and 50 for the month of March. So he definitely tapered off a little bit. So yeah, you do want to see him kind of bounce back. It's not just the rookie wall and playing this many games. It's this many games this fast. So I do wonder how that's going to affect a lot of people here. You always go from a 30-game college schedule to an 80-game, and it's right around the 40, 50-game mark where they're like, geez, this is long. But on top of that, he's been there has he missed a game?
He had
he missed that long stretch. He missed 6 weeks. So I take that back. I totally spaced on that. He missed quite a bit of time. So he's got fewer games under his belt as a result there. But he's just got to keep.
But that knocked him off too. I mean, that was one of many factors.
Yeah. He's got to.
Fans, they were freaking out when they saw him down.
A couple moments this year. That one, the smart one. I mean, it could have gotten bad.
That was the MCL.
Smart was almost like, is this going to end the season or we're not going to wait?
That would have been the knockout blow right there.
Yeah.
So they're going to need him because we were counting down the amount of people on the who you're willing to count on. I think he's one of 8, right? At this point, your starters, Tristan.
That's my question for Fournier. Is he going to be involved?
That's your playoff. That's your 8. That's your 8 playoff rotation. He's absolutely essential there, especially without bringing anybody else. I mean, we are not even going to do the IT segment here, but
well, that's my question. Is he just going to spell KEMBA and Smart for 5 minutes, or is he going to be a real deal piece for this playoff rotation? Like they're going to need him to contribute.
I think he's playing 12 to 15 minutes easy most games. Even in a tight rotation, I think the guys who are going to fall off is you might get one turn at a Romeo, in the first half, but it's going to be, I don't know if you're going to see them again in a tight game in the second half. You see Brad do that a lot particularly in the playoffs. They'll give everybody that turn in the first half. No, but then in the second half, nope. Those minutes get really tight, and you're really down to just basically 8 guys.
Remember the 90-second canter?
No, that's so awesome. True though. No, Brad does that.
That was awesome.
My high school coaches do that shit.
Yeah. No, but it's true.
Okay, just like we won't let you relive those painful moments in your childhood.
No, but it's a quick hook.
Yeah, I did that one for the team. I do that up there. That little log.
You'll get a little Grant. You'll get a little bit of Romeo, maybe. Semi-situationally, but I think it's a really tight rotation.
Yeah, no. But that's why Pritchard's so important, right? I mean, you need someone like that, and especially if Marcus needs a break,
and you need him to be. You need offense from him. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But for someone like Marcus, because a lot of people would just assume or they feel comfortable just plugging in Marcus with that second unit, or him or KEMBA, just one of those guys is fine, and Pritchard can grab 9 or 10 minutes. But sometimes those guys need a break, and it's not necessarily because of foul trouble. Maybe they just need to just check out for a few minutes. I think that's when Pritchard, that's a valuable piece to have, especially towards the end of the regular season and going into the playoffs.
I think Pritchard's playing time is going to be predicated to some extent on Fournier, who has the ability to be a playmaker. If Fournier is in the game and he's rolling, and him and Smart and KEMBA are playing well together, we may see Payton Pritchard not play much at all in the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if Brad.
I'm thinking.
I wouldn't be surprised if Brad shortened to a 7-man rotation where Tristan and Fournier are the only 2 that come off the bench.
Yeah, I want this rotation
as conference finals. Yeah, maybe.
I want this rotation as short as possible come playoff time.
Me too.
They can't mess around with those Romeo minutes, John, and even Pritchard at this point.
Can't mess around.
They can't. Their margin for error is too slim.
Brad usually does, right?
I said,
even when he lost Hayward last year.
I know he usually does, but this year feels different.
It's a quick hook. You need it simply because you can't play those guys 40 minutes every game. The math doesn't work out. You have to spell Tatum and Brown.
Well, Fournier helps it now. So we'll see.
Fournier helps
but also,
it.
I get the feeling that Grant's going to be like his,
Grant's going to get in there.
He's getting 20 easily.
But you can hide Fournier in a lineup you can hide Romeo in a lineup that has Fournier and another starter because you're not throwing out, 5 guys out there and they're like, Kornet. Who the hell is going to shoot here? Right.
You have to pick one though, don't you? Like it's not going to be Romeo and Grant and it's probably just going to be one of those guys.
It'll be matchup based.
But just look at the regular rotations. If you have Tatum kind of coming back in at the end of the first quarter to start the second, you could have a Tatum Romeo lineup in there, and then Jaylen comes in and spells somebody. Like it's still, and Fournier still on the court. Like I think you're still doing that in the playoffs. But you're right. It's in that second half in the close games. It's that quick hook with those guys. But again, the reason we're having this discussion is, there's no question Pritchard is in the circle of trust. I think for this unit, he's, he is
the circle of trust.
Circle of trust.
I think he is.
He's in the cot, people. He's in the cot.
Real quick, just
once you're out, you don't go back in the circle, right?
Just a notification here. We had opened the locker room link, and the app crashed momentarily. We'll be putting up a new link. So anybody who went in there, you probably got booted and wondered why. We're putting up a new link shortly. And that'll be the one that we're going to migrate to as soon as it's working. So I'm just waiting. Okay, it's in there, and I believe it's been put in the chat as well. So the latest link is the correct link, and this one is, I believe, working. The room is open.
There you go.
So we're going to head over there in a few minutes, but we're going to kind of go around the world here for another thought, for our final thoughts. Sherrod, we'll start with you because we're going to be exiting shortly.
Yeah, a good win because it was just that, a win. And they need to start stacking them as many as they can. The schedule, as we talked about earlier, the schedule is going to work out in their favor, I think, where they're going to get some opponents that are beatable. And again, this Celtics team, at worst, when all said and done, going into the playoffs, should be the 4th seed. I think that's where they're going to ultimately wind up being. And if they got to play the Atlanta Hawks in the first round, okay, take that.
It's a tough one.
Let's go. Let's go to that trip. In all seriousness, though, but I also believe whether it's the 4th or 5th seed that they end up in, it's the attitude. Like, keep this going, Celtics. Go into this Golden State Warriors game thinking, look, we got to let's blow these guys out. Let's put a message out there, national TV.
They can do it.
A lot of these nationally televised games, I mean, the Celtics have raised eyebrows, but then they've, blown leads here and there. They've done things that make people like Charles Barkley, go on air and say, they need KEMBA because they're looking from the outside looking in, or if you're watching a game every 4 or 5 games, you're wondering, well, maybe that's the missing piece here. Whereas guys like us, we watch the games every single night. We realize that it's the roster is there. There's talent. It's enough to sustain the defensive level, the defense that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, and I expect that on Saturday. So that's what I think is going to happen against the Warriors. I'm gonna call another win for the Celtics.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Curry's been a tough assignment though.
Yeah,
He'll get 40. He'll get 40.
Yeah. They need to separate right now because while you're in fourth, tied for fourth, you're losing that tie break to Atlanta because you've dropped a couple games to them already this year. But on top of that, you're still they are 1 game up in the loss column from 8. So you're still dangerously close to play-in territory. You need a 3-4 game cushion from that 7-8 thing. So they're doing it now. I mean, this is what? Is this 5 straight?
Yep.
I know you don't want to fall into the 7th. Like that's
but you just can't do it.
I like the format, don't get me wrong, but man, like you can be in a tough spot.
No, at this point, now that we see that what this team's capable of, that would be a horrible failure. And obviously something would have to go wrong, I think, for it to happen. Because right now, the way they're playing, they're not going to lose many games, as Sherrod said. We've not only seen this team get back to being healthy, but we've seen them form an identity to some degree. And we've seen their best players step up to the plate and figure out what their roles are in all of this. Like everybody's starting to look a little bit more comfortable with what they need to do right now. So I have a little doubt about this team going on a run here. Now, I was wrong about the 7-game homestand being a turning point. Who knows what's around the corner now for this team, and we'll keep an eye on that Rob situation because they're not well sustained to lose a starter or even a rotation piece at this point, just given how important every single piece is here. But as far as how they're playing this month, not only the record, but just the offense and defense and attitude, like everything you look at here is awesome. It's just a great looking team. They're fun to watch again. And they're knocking off wins like it's nothing, like we saw early in the season. We kept asking, like, was this 2019? We'll see. But I just never felt it. I felt like there were real issues, losses, stuff going on that was undermining the team rather than they have all this stuff. How come they can't do anything with it? That was the big difference to me.
I do. Bobby is easily impressed, but it doesn't mean he's wrong. Like they're better right now, you have reason to feel better.
Was that sort of kind of a compliment?
No. He's
it's like a backhanded compliment.
Look, right now we've got Kornet is a key piece of the future and blown away by a 7-assist game from a point guard. So we are definitely we're definitely hyping things up a little bit.
It was a backhanded compliment.
Even Joe Sway had 7 assists, back in the day.
I'm gonna keep the Kornet log for every 90 plays.
But Kornet has that 20-point, 10-rebound playoff game. Bobby's gonna say, "See
where Bob."
Look at the tape.
What I'm messing with, like I said, it's a half joke, but at the end of the day, it's more fun to watch. They're playing with more urgency. It looks closer to a Celtics team that you expected to see. What they're gonna do against the big 3 here is anybody's guess,
I mean. If you look at the numbers right now, this month, I know it's only 7 games, but 7 games is something. Yeah. They're playing like the Nets on offense, and they're playing like the Lakers on defense, statistically. They are 121 offensive rating and like 110 defensive rating. They're just destroying teams right now, and we've seen them do it to Denver. And I know you guys weren't impressed with the Minnesota one, but a fully loaded Minnesota team going toe-to-toe with them.
I was not, but I was super impressed with the Portland game. That's
Portland one as well.
That's my favorite of this
Bobby
stretch.
Said fully loaded.
All right, so Sherrod, head on over right now. Head over to locker room.
You too, John.
I'm heading over to tweet it to your fault. He's
gone.
Oh,
geez, we gotta do this thing again. Hold on, I gotta be the host here.
Bobby, didn't I tell you to come prepared for this?
I need a closer notice. Normally, you need more notice. I actually need like a closer notice in these cases.
I know. We know we're gonna. We've done this quite a bit, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Sherrod made it into the room. I'm proud of the guy.
He was out quick.
He's out quick.
What do you want us to talk? Give us a topic here for me and Josue to toss around.
I thought Bobby had something.
Normally I do, but
you know what? I got a good one, and I want to talk. I'm going to bring this to locker room as well. I don't like doing this. I don't like lending credence to other people's bullshit hot takes. Okay. However, I don't know which one you think I'm saying.
I'm going to play the clip.
Which one are you talking about?
Brad today?
No,
or just the whole thing in general.
What are you talking about right now? Damn it,
there was a Nick Wright, who I think is the largest Yahoo of all of them, and probably has less right to any opinion than anybody who spouts opinions.
But shit. What do you say this time?
His point was, or the thing that he said was, he hates Boston and he's backhanding them left and right. But the point that he made was,
stick, man.
He loves it. He loves crapping on Boston. It's his stick. But the thing that he said was, look,
Syracuse
at the end of the day, Boston's never going to win. Like, what are you going to do if you're Boston? Look at the top three teams in the East and look at their best player. If your best player is Tatum ever going to beat Giannis? Is Tatum ever going to beat KD and or Harden? Is Tatum ever going to beat who am I missing? What's the third team here? Embiid.
Yeah.
So he's saying all of those teams' best players are better than your best player. And so I don't know if it's right or not, but it is an interesting conversation when you're talking about you have to be a complete team to be able – if you need a better team effort right now. And the Celtics are top heavy with stars, and they're not a great team. So it's not whether or not I give a crap what that guy says. I just was wondering if you think about it, you're right. Like, that's why we talk about Tatum's got to enter that top 5 conversation where you got to be like, hell yeah, he's as good as those guys. But when he's not, and you're looking up at those guys, you're like, yeah, they kind of do. Not only do they have the top end talent, but the rest of their roster is right.
You know what I would love to see next week?
I'm heading out. You wanted something to talk about?
Yeah.
I just dropped.
I heard
that
you,
one.
man. I heard you. Don't worry, I got you.
So that just makes me think of this, Josue. You know what I would love to see next week, and we're not going to get it because we just don't get nice things with this NBA regular season. Fully loaded Nets, fully loaded Celtics going at it next week. I think it's in Brooklyn. I don't know where it is, but whatever. They're playing next week. Go in there. Face KD, Harden, Kyrie. You don't have to win, but just hang in there right till the final seconds. Show you're on that level. That's what this team has to do right now regarding what John just said. Like, that's the cream of the crop when it comes to elite teams in the East as far as top-end talent goes. If Tatum, Brown, and KEMBA can go in there and hang with that group, you're talking about something. But so far this year, even a slightly undermanned Nets team is just wipe the Celtics off the floor.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of talked about this last season, or at least we talked about how the Eastern Conference has got significantly better, right? And of course, the Celtics, I mean, whether people agree that, Tatum's going to be a top 5 guy or not, I think we all agreed that at least the Celtics and Brad Stevens are going to most likely put together that team that has a top 10 guy, full-fledged top 10, whether people want to put him top 5 or not. Obviously, this is like a year ago, right, or close to it. And the other pieces, Jaylen top 20 guy, and then you have everyone else, right? And we looked at a team in the recent history. Well, I shouldn't say recent history, but we looked in the history of the last 15, 20 years, and we're like, well, maybe the Celtics could be sort of that, like, Detroit Pistons of the NBA, right? I mean, the Detroit Pistons very rarely had the best player of the series, but of course they had the better team. And I think when you think about Brad Stevens, of course, his background in coaching and not just necessarily what he did on the collegiate level, but the program that he brought to the Final Four in Butler. Like, that's significant in the sense of what he's been able to do with underdogs in the past. And a lot's been made about that, of course, the last 5-6 years with Isaiah Thomas and, those teams before that, the overachieving squads, if you will, the overachieving era, if you will, of Celtics basketball. But now we're talking about a legitimate top 10 guy. Does Tatum have to be a top 5 guy in order to knock off one of those teams? Maybe not.
I think so.
You think he has to be?
Yeah, just because I think
it's tough to say because, in today's NBA where like a lot of the top tier teams, they have that dynamic duo. How many of those guys fall in the top 10? Sure, the Brooklyn Nets have a team like that. The Los Angeles Lakers do too as well. But how
we know what the difference is? The difference is the Nets have a guy like, let's say, Jeff Green, who could get you 20 if he's playing at his best level in a playoff game. We've seen him do that. He did to the Celtics in Game 7. Philly has a Tobias Harris. Even a Seth Curry could have a massive game for them in a playoff game. And then when you think of Milwaukee, it wouldn't be anything to see Chris Middleton get 40. Dante DiVincenzo could do all that. They have a bunch of role guys who can really go out there. When it comes to the Celtics, like, we love Rob and Thompson. They're not scoring any more than 12 to 14 points. Kemba at this point probably capped at like 20, 21 the way he's been playing. And, Fournier's the X factor here. I see this guy chiming in here. Can Fournier be that guy who could go off in tandem with Tatum and Brown? This is why I think that addition was so important, because Tatum could have 25, Brown could have 25. You throw in a 20-25 from Fournier there, that's enough to win a playoff game.
But Bobby, outside of Brooklyn, though, like, which other team in the East, at their best, top three, their best three against the Celtics' best three? I mean, the Celtics can go up against anyone except for
Philly.
Brooklyn. Philly? What? Tobias Harris? You telling me between Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and
he's been like that this year.
They can't give these dudes the business? I mean, for the first time in a long time, we saw those three guys score 20 plus. Like, I'm not saying that that's going to be the norm all of a sudden, but in a best of 7 series, and that's another thing too with Brad Stevens, like, that's an advantage to have in the best of 7 series. He does a really good job of coaching, and of course, Eric Spoelstra got the best of him, but Eric Spoelstra is Eric
Let's
Spoelstra.
be honest though. So I'd probably take Jaylen Brown over Ben Simmons right now. But Tobias versus Kemba, that hasn't been close this year.
Tobias has the edge.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's all I'm saying here is those top 3 teams, they have big threes that you can't mess around with. And Drew Holiday versus Kemba, Drew is completely blowing him away this year.
That's the thing that guys like guys like Charles Barkley and was it Shaq? I think they were getting into it about the Celtics about how important Kemba is. They're looking at it as, well, what are they going to do against Philly and Brooklyn? Whereas we're looking at it as, well, the Celtics can still get pretty far in the playoffs if they can somehow avoid those 2 teams in the first 2 rounds. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, once you reach that point, yeah, of course, Kemba has to revert to somewhat of that guy he was in that first 4 or 5 months as a member of the Boston Celtics.
I'm taking Brown over Simmons. Brown's a 40% three-point shooter and can score from every level on the court. I'm taking that over Simmons' finishing and transition runs. I know he's a great defender, but
people taking Simmons.
Yeah, and it's close. I'm not saying Brown blows him away.
It's close, but because of Embiid's MVP season, it's tough. It's a tough matchup for the Celtics.
What's up, Joel? Joel Pavone is in here. Bro? All right, so that kind of shapes up the East a little bit. We're not going to get a lot of these tests down the stretch of the season because the schedule is just bad for Boston. They're not going to see Philly again. They're not going to see Milwaukee again. They'll get that test against Brooklyn, though. So that's the big one right now that you have to look at. And hopefully the Celtics are fully loaded by then. This Rob thing is so important. If Rob starts to miss significant time here and then he has to get acclimated and back into shape and this kind of stuff, that would just kind of shake this team off its foundation right now with what was getting them rolling at this point. It was nice tonight, though, to still see the offense moving and doing some of the things that Rob helped spur and, kind of maintain that offensive momentum. They were, I think through like the middle of the third quarter, they were shooting close to 60%. So the Celtics are rolling in a way where, at least for right now, one guy can go down and other guys can pick up the slack there when it comes to passing, when it comes to scoring, even rim defense today. Like the one thing you would think they would miss most about Rob is rim protection, and Thompson and Kornet both clean that up. So to see the depth of the team actually step up a little bit in some sense is great. Any other thoughts out of tonight before we hop over that locker room, whether Celtics are around the league?
Said about Tristan. I mean, of course, I was thinking about you as Tristan Thompson's going. Playing just great basketball, just a great game from him on both ends.
Great defense. I mean, this is why I freaked out about him, Josue, because this is what he was in Cleveland. Grinder defensively, versatile, strong, rim protector, rebounder.
I'm telling you, Bobby, I swear, sometimes I think the Celtics just gave the dude a break, man. They're like, listen, we know what time it is. This is that point where we want to gear up for the final stretch. We're not quite sure what we have between Wagner and this Kornet guy, so we can get some reps in with these guys. You know what I mean? Like, and it's great because he's a veteran and he understands that. And both ends, both sides. It's a mutual agreement, and it's beneficial. Like, look what happened. I mean, look, I don't know if that's true or not, but like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Celtics did that for someone like that. A veteran who's obviously proven himself in this league.
Yeah,
before,
I don't know, but
and plenty of basketball left. But no, I mean,
what is interesting,
regardless, the break worked. It was good. It was good for him.
To see him come back like this, that's not normally what you expect from someone coming off that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
This question, who do you want to see? You can either take this as like, who could they beat, or who do you want to see them like measuring stick against?
I kind of want Atlanta. I think that's a good test right there. And then after that, let's just see if you could, because again, you got Trae Young, you got a young big in the middle. Like there's that dynamic where the Celtics could be really challenged, and of course you have outside shooters. I mean, the Celtics throughout the course of the regular season, defending the 3-point arc has been an issue. So you get a little bit from Brad's perspective. Brad will be like, you get a little bit of everything of some of our biggest challenges this year in that first round matchup.
I think you just want to go to Atlanta.
That too, maybe a little bit of that.
You don't want to be seeing Charlotte. You don't want to be seeing.
I honestly, that didn't even cross my mind till Sherrod brought it up. Sherrod was like, "Oh, well, Atlanta." I was like, "Oh yeah." Atlanta,
well, what's interesting is two of the real possibilities are. It's like a roulette right now. You got Miami in one. You got Atlanta in one. But then if you hit the wrong one, you're going to Charlotte.
Yeah, but Bobby, after what happened last year, bro, and I don't know if it was you or Jimmy, but I was pretty passionate about it after one of our live broadcasts. One of these post-game shows, I was like, man, Miami, Toronto, like that would have been the best road trip. Like, the best traveling 4 or 5 days in the first 2 round matchups. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, no, was it? No, Philly, my fault. Philly's a good time. Philly's not bad. You got Philly first round, then it was Toronto, and then Miami, Eastern Conference Finals. That's the dream right there.
I don't think New York's in the cards because they're not good enough, but that would be fun. I mean, going up against the Knicks fans, and then, the Knicks Celtics thing, that hasn't been a thing in a while, but it would just like shoot right back up.
Right.
But plus, I think
that's up the pike too. They got to send us, right, Bobby? I mean, John's sending us. They're playing the Knicks.
Oh, easily. Yeah. We wouldn't even have to fight for that one. Charlotte, though, that's the one you don't want. And they're falling anyway. So I think it really is. If the Celtics are going to be 4, it's going to be Atlanta or Miami. And if I had to pick between those two, I want Miami. Like, I'm the kind of guy who's like, all right, let's get the measuring stick out. Let's see how this team really lines up. And if you can get through Miami. The tricky thing is there, though, if you have that 7-game first-round series, and we saw this after Toronto last year, I think we underrated how much that Toronto series took out of the Celtics, that if you do run up against Miami and go 7 games first round and just squeak out of there, you might be going up against a team in Brooklyn that sweeps through Charlotte or something round 1, which isn't advantageous. So I guess I would take Atlanta out of those ones and just try to beat their defense because I still don't believe in it, although they've been very good this year. But yeah, we've gone on long enough.
We weren't even talking about Atlanta. That's true.
We can take this over to locker room. I still see some great questions. Normally, I'm not loving the questions here in our after show of sorts.
I know, and you openly tell them, Bobby. It's
well, you got to inspire.
It's a good thing because they're gonna really try to come harder next time. But it's also like, man, you're a tough judge on these guys.
So that is it for tonight. Celtics are back in Boston on Saturday. This was a nice road trip sweep out west for Boston, an impressive one at that.
Yes,
there you got the Warriors on Saturday, another primetime national TV game.
At the Garden.
Steph Curry's back in that MVP race, but that team is not all that impressive otherwise. You're going to be looking at the guys that are on the court with him and be like, who's that? Who's that? There's a 95.
I know.
One of them's named Juan Toscano. You're going to be like,
I was going to say, we got to give him that jersey. This is Toscano that made the league.
Oh, man. All right.
Shout out to Jimmy. He better be up for that one. Come on, Jimmy.
We're on the locker room. Get that app if you haven't. They're already getting started over there, so you can jump right over and get in the queue to ask your questions over there on the air. If you don't have locker room or you don't have an iPhone, we put the sound on our Celtics post-game show podcast feed, which is available everywhere you get podcasts, Android or Apple, and you can listen to it the next day. We're trying to get that app underway for Android. It shouldn't be that hard, but they're running into some bumps here and trying to get it done. So hopefully that's done within the next week or so, or at least by the playoffs. So for Josue Pavone, everybody here on Celtics Post Game, we're going to see you over on Locker Room.